Hello, in this video we're going to be looking at solving linear equations and in particular we're looking at one-step and two-step linear equations. This is suitable for anyone doing higher and foundation tier GCSE Maths. So the objective here is to solve one-step and two-step linear equations by using inverse operations. So the main rules you have to just follow is whatever you do to one side of an equation, you must do to the other so that the equation still balances. And to do this, we're going to use inverse operations. So the first example here, we have x plus 7 equals 12, so we want to try and get x by itself. So the thing that's in the way in this case of x being by itself is the plus 7. So to remove the plus 7, we need to get rid of it. So we're going to minus 7, but the rule is whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So we're going to minus 7 from the 12 as well. So we end up with x equals 5, and that is the answer to this question. This question is fairly obvious though, because it's just a number plus 7 equals 12. So most people will know that 7 plus 5 is 12. So that's the answer to that question. So this question here, we have 3x equals 21. So 3x means 3 times x, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So what we're going to do is divide both sides by 3. So we end up with x equals 7, and that is the answer to that question. So this one here, we have x divided by 5 is 6. So again, we want to try and get x by itself. So at the moment, we have x divided by 5 equals 6. So we need to do the opposite of dividing by 5, which is multiplying by 5. So we're going to multiply both sides by 5. So the left side just becomes x, and the right hand becomes 30, because 5 times 6 is 30. So this question here, this is our first two-step equation. The reason why it's called a two-step equation is because there are quite literally 2 steps. So we want to try and get x by itself, and this time the thing that's in the way of x being by itself is the plus 5 and the times 3. So there's 2 things we need to do here, that's why it's two-step. So to get rid of the plus 5, we need to do the opposite. So the opposite of adding 5 is subtracting 5. So we need to minus 5 from both sides, and we end up with 3x equals 15. So now we have 3x, we need to do the opposite of times in by 3. So the opposite of times in by 3 is dividing by 3. So we're going to do 15 divided by 3, and that is 5. So the answer to this question is x equals 5. So here's another two-step equation. So again, the thing that's in the way of x being by itself here is the minus 7 and the times 8. So to get rid of the minus 7, we need to first start by adding 7. So we end up with 8x equals 40. And then we need to get rid of the 8. So we need to divide by 8 because the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we end up with x equals 5. And that is the answer to that question. So this one here, again, we want to get x by itself. So the thing that's in the way of x being by itself this time is the minus 2 and the divide by 4. So to get rid of the minus 2, we have to add 2. So we end up with x over 4 equals 7. And then to get rid of the divide by 4, we need to do the opposite, so times by 4. So we end up with x equals 28. This one here, we need to get rid of 3 things actually. So we need to get rid of the divide by 3, we need to get rid of the plus 1, and we need to get rid of the times by 2. So to get rid of the divide by 3, we're going to times the whole thing by 3, because dividing the opposite of dividing by 3 is times in by 3. So we end up with 2x plus 1 equals 21, because 7 times 3 is 21. Now we need to get rid of the plus 1. So the opposite of adding 1 is subtracting 1. So we end up with 2x equals 20. And then we need to divide by 2 because the opposite of times in by 2 is dividing by 2. So we end up with x equals 10. And that is the answer to that question. So here's a typical exam style question you could get asked on a foundation or higher tier GCSE Maths exam. So we have 4 bracket x plus 3 equals 28. So there's 2 ways of doing this question, 2 ways that most students would typically answer it. So the first way is to simply just start off by dividing both sides by 4, because we have this whole bracket is times by 4. So the opposite of times in by 4 is dividing by 4. So we would end up with x plus 3 equals 7. And then to get rid of the plus 3, we need to minus 3. So we end up with x equals 4. So that is the answer to that question. Another way that a lot of students might answer this question is by expanding the brackets. So if we expand the brackets, we get 4x plus 12 equals 28. Then we need to minus 12 from both sides, giving us 4x equals 16. And then we divide both sides by 4, so we end up with x equals 4. So again, we get the same answer, but just a slightly different, slightly longer method of doing it. So yeah, that is that. So here's some quick fire practice questions on solving 1-step and 2-step equations. Pause the video if you want to have a go at these, and I'll reveal the answer in a short moment. Okay, so well done if you had a go at those. The answers have just appeared, so well done if you managed to get them all right. If you're still a bit unsure, maybe look back on this video so that you can see where you've gone wrong. But yeah, that is everything on solving 1-step and 2-step linear equations. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to solve linear equations where there might be an x term on both sides. So you might want to have a look at that if you think that's something you might need to revise. Okay, but thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time in another video. Bye!